All right, peace students. Welcome to our food desert project that's specifically for getting practice with SQL. All right, so in this first mini series, we're gonna come up with 10, we're gonna be solving 10 business intelligence questions that's essentially comparing menu items by protein type. All right, so within our data set, we have a few different protein types, which you guys will see in a second. And what we want to do is run some, in this mini series, we're going to go over 10 business intelligence questions. All right, so in this first video, we're going to answer business intelligence question number one. And then in the subsequent videos, we'll go over each of the other ones. All right, so let's just jump into this. So the first question that we're going to be answering is the average nutrition score by protein type. All right. So we're ahead of Gusto's data analytics department. And they have questions. They want to know, they want to understand the recording by protein type. All right. So they want to know, like, okay, on average of the different proteins that we have, what's the average nutritional score? That's what we're going to be answering in this video. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is just preview our data set so we can, so by the way, this is how we're going to end. So by the end of this, this is what we're going to give back to, let's say it's the marketing team, or let's say it's like a team that's responsible for, understanding the overall nutrition of the menu item. So by the end of this, this is the end result we're going to get. It's going to have the protein type and it's going to have, oh, sorry, that's not this one. It's going to have the average one. Sorry, you can disregard this. This is answering question number two. Completely disregard this. All right, so let's just jump into getting the average nutrition score by protein type. So the first thing we're going to do is just look at the overall data set. So we're going to do a select star from, and we're going to do it from our menu items. All right, so let's just look at our data set. So if we look at our data set, you'll see that the protein type is embedded in our title. Okay, we have the calories, we have the protein, we have the carbs, we have the fat, we have the cholesterol, the sodium, and finally the nutrition score. All right, so these two columns are the ones that we're most interested in. And essentially, we want to know what is the average of the nutritional score, but we want to group it by the protein type. Now, that's going to take a little bit of elbow grease because the protein type is embedded in the title. So we're going to have to break up the title so that instead of this just having the full title of queso verde, queso, mixed greens, spicy chicken, we just want this to say grilled chicken. Grilled spicy chicken. And we want this to just be grilled chicken, etc. So that it's not reporting by individual menu item, but it's reporting by protein type. All right. So let's jump into step number two. So in step number two, the first thing we're going to do is just get the overall average nutrition score. All right, and we do that by oh, actually we can't do this yet. This does not exist. All right. So right now we're just going to select the average protein, the average nutrition score. We're just gonna do the average of that. And again, this is just gonna aggregate the overall for the entire menu item, for the entire menu items on this table. What is the average nutrition score? All right, so we're going to use the average function here. That's what we're going to use. And this round is so that we only get two decimal places. So let's just run this query. So let's find out what the overall nutrition, the overall average nutrition score is for this data set. Okay, so we can see that overall the average nutrition score is a 2.12. All right, 2.12. That's the average nutrition score. And I want to make sure I point this out. The function we use is very subjective as far as like coming to this average nutrition score. So please don't take this at face value that this is Gusto's actual nutrition score. This is essentially like made up we would need to do a much better job of coming up with a way to calculate the average nutrition score. I mean, the average, yeah, the nutrition score. I just want to point that out. All right, but for this data set, on average, all right, so if we looked at all of the menu items together, the average nutrition score is 2.12. Okay, so we said that we wanted to get this by protein type. All right, so what we need to do is I'm introducing basically like two, I guess maybe we call functions, but we need to work with I like and we need to work with case. So you guys can think of the case statement as like if you've ever been coding before and you guys have come across that if then else, case works very similarly, except for it's going to be a case when, and then you'll have your conditional, and then you'll have your then do this. So case when the title is like spicy chicken, then it's going to be called grilled spicy chicken. And then you have your else, just like you do in your if else statement, else other. All right. Now, that's the case part, right? So case when the title, all right, is something like, for example, spicy chicken, then we want to just call that entire title grilled spicy chicken, right? Which is different from, let's look at our overall data set again, right? So what we're saying is basically, if the case is that grilled spicy chicken is in the title, instead of it being called the entire title, we just want to call this spicy grilled chicken. All right, now what I want you guys to pay attention to right now is where this percent sign falls. Okay, so let me take a step back. So you guys have the whole case statement, right? So case is like if, then do this. All right, else, call it other. All right, so that's the case part. The I like part, right? So we need a way to find out whether the term spicy chicken is within our title. I like is case insensitive. That means that whether spicy chicken is capitalized, not capitalized, if we find spicy chicken in our title, then we're still gonna call it grilled spicy chicken. So that's what that I like is. Now let's pay attention to this percent sign. So depending on where this percent sign falls. So, for example, if it's right here, it's going to say, does the title begin with spicy chicken? All right. When this percent sign is here. All right. Is that the case, guys? If you guys look at the title, do you guys see that the title begins with spicy chicken or does it end with spicy chicken? All right. Let's just run the query and see what happens. So in this case, right, we're doing a select star. So we're still getting all the records and then we're introducing this new case statement. So now we have our case statement that says, okay, when the title is like, it begins with spicy chicken, then let's just call it grilled spicy chicken. Else we're just gonna call it another. And what you guys will notice, and matter of fact, let me, um, it's fine. You guys are going to see this all the way at the end. And then let me actually copy this. So first, since you guys are first getting familiar with this, I'm just going to pull the title instead of all of the records in. This star is going to pull all the records in and it might not be able to see it at first. So first, let's just do this. All right, so again, this percent sign is saying if this title begins with spicy chicken, and let's just see if we get any results. Okay, notice that everything is just coming back as other. Okay, it's because none of our titles begin with spicy chicken. All right. So now let's move on to our next instance, right? And if I run this, this is just going to bring all the records in. So I'll run this for you guys so you can see. See how this brings in all the records because I have this star, this asterisk here versus in this one, I specifically spelled out to just bring in the title and this new field called protein type. All right. So protein type is all the way over here. Like I was saying before, it might be hard for you guys to see. So that's the reason why in the first query, I just brought in the title and then that new column called protein type. All right, so let's move on. So now, if we move this percent sign to the beginning of this word, now it's going to say, okay, do we have any records that end with spicy chicken? Now, do you guys see any records in our title field that ends with spicy chicken? All right, I can see this here. I can see this here. I can see this here. So what we would expect, right, is that these records, right, that have the grilled spicy chicken at the end of our title will now get renamed as grilled spicy chicken, right, for this new field called protein type. And then all these other records are just going to get the title of other. All right. And again, so that it's not as confusing for you guys, first, I'm just going to bring in the title before I bring in all the other results. So let's, instead of bringing in all the records, let's just bring in the title first so that you guys can see this. So now let's run this query again. All right. And now again, look that the percent sign is right here because it's saying, does it end with spicy chicken? Okay. So notice now when we run this query with the percent sign at the beginning of the word, we now get grilled spicy chicken here. We get our grilled spicy chicken here. We get our grilled spicy chicken here. Now, actually, what we're going to do in our case, oh, and now if I run this, so this is specifically just bringing in the title, and it's bringing in our new field called protein type, right? We created this new field called protein type. So we have our case when title I like, all right, and then ends with spicy chicken, call it grilled chicken, else other. All right, and now we're giving a name to this new calculated field, and we're calling this protein type. All right. So now I'm going to run this same query, except for this time, I'm bringing in all of the results, right? So you see this little asterisk here instead of when I spelled out title. In this case now, I'm going to run this. And again, so all the records are now brought in. So all the columns are brought in, and then protein type is over at the end. Okay, so you guys might say like, okay, let's go with the ends with spicy chicken. But we're actually going to do in this query is do something else. So if the percent sign is both at the beginning and the end, and basically the words in the middle, this is saying whether spicy chicken is contained in the word and the title period. And that's what we're actually going to use in this query. So as always, before I bring in all the columns, I'm going to run this for you guys where I'm just bringing in the title and this new calculated field called protein type. So let me run this for you guys, and we're going to see like the same results. Okay, so now we have our grilled spicy chicken, and then everything else is other. We're going to do this just because, like I said, the data set, this is honestly a good example because like a lot of times your data isn't clean. And if you're a data analyst, the majority of your job is going to be cleaning up the data, transforming the data because your results are only as good as your data set. All right. So to review, what we've done is said, okay, instead of us reporting on this data set by the full title, we want to report on this data set by the protein type. All right. And we don't have right now a dedicated field that just looks at the menu items by protein type. Our protein type is buried in our title. So in order for us to have this report by protein type, we created this new calculated field that looks at the title column. It looks to see if it contains the protein type spicy chicken. And if so, we now have this new field called protein type, and its name is going to be grilled chicken. All right. That's going to be important because in the end, we're going to have a subquery that we can now run the average. So let's go back to all our records now. So let me just pull in nutrition. Let me pull this in. So this is getting all our records. This is the exact same query, except for we're pulling in all our columns. And I just want to spell out what's most important. All right. So I'm also going to add in this nutrition score. and the one that does not have all our records. So let's put in nutrition score and make sure we add our comma there. All right, so we're very close to what we're actually interested in. So if I run this now, what this is now, right? Imagine that instead of us taking the overall average, we could say, okay, now that we have this new field called protein type, I want you to take the average nutrition score and I want you to group it by the protein type. All right. That's our goal because that's what the question is asking. Is asking what is the average nutrition score per protein type? Okay. So now again, this is just pulling in all of our columns because it has this asterisk here. Now that you guys have a fundamental understanding of how we're going to use the case statement, so guys, as of right now, we're only looking to see if it's grilled spicy chicken. We need to do this for each of the other proteins, okay? So now, if we look at our news subquery, and again, sorry, I meant to mention this before, we're filtering by place ID equal to 2 because that is Gusto's place ID. I added that in. Just I meant to mention that. All right. So in our mini queries, we're filtering by place ID equal to 2. Okay, because we're only looking at Gusto. All right. So this is what we're doing next, right? So instead of just saying when the title is spicy chicken, we're looking through each of our different protein types. So now the case statement continues. All right. And again, so that you guys can just see the columns of interest, I'm going to copy this. Oops. And this time I am just going to grab the title and the nutrition score. All right. Because we're very, very close to what we want our final results to be. So instead of me doing a star here, I'm going to do a title, and then I'm also going to do the nutrition score. All right, so let's run this query. So let's run this. Okay, so now if you guys look, actually, I'm going to take the title out. What I'm going to do is, so that you guys can really see this. Let's put our select here. Let's put a comma here, and let's put our nutrition score and get that. So I just changed the order, and let's just run this so you guys can see for yourselves. Okay, so guys, we are really, really close to what we want as our end result. So now, as you guys can see, we still have 160 records, right? And this time, instead of the full on title, we have the protein type. So now this doesn't say that full title of, let's go back to our original data set, all right? So I'm going to compare this. So now notice our menu item ID, actually, let me bring that into, let's bring in the menu item ID so you guys can see this further. All right, so let's bring in our menu item ID so you guys can see which records this is. So let's bring in menu item. Okay, so you guys see how in our basically our final subquery that's going to actually help us get the average nutrition score. Notice that menu item ID now it's just called spicy chicken. All right, so if we look at our original, like the full data set, menu item 162 is actually queso verde mixed green spicy chicken. All right. And menu item 163 is queso verde mixed greens grilled chicken. All right. And menu item 164 is sweet soy sriracha mixed greens grilled spicy chicken. All right. So that's the actual menu item. But what we've done is use a case statement. So let's scroll back down. All right, we've used a case statement now where instead of the where are we here? where instead of this menu item being this title, it just has this new calculated field called protein type. So let's run this again. You guys see what the results are right now, right? You see how right now this is called this full menu item, but we're creating a new calculated field called protein type. All right, so now if we look at our menu item ID, the 162, 163, all we have are the protein types. All right, guys. So now the data set looks how we want to. So now all we want to do is wrap this in as a subquery, and now we can take the average nutrition score and we can group this by our new calculated field of protein type. So all right. And again, this is just bringing in the full data set. All right. Before, all I did was isolate just the menu ID and the protein type so it's easier to see. And if I run this query here, all right, notice that we have all of our columns and this new protein type column. All right, now let's look at our full final query. Now, this looks very similar to in step number 2, where we took the average nutrition score. Remember here where we took the average nutrition score? Remember this? And it gave us the overall average. Okay, so let's go back down to our final query. Look, we're still taking the average, but now we're taking the average, but we're grouping by the protein type. So remember, this protein type field is coming from our subquery. So remember when we came up with our final query in this step that has all of our records plus this new calculated field called protein type. All right. So what we did was make that a mini query. So we're selecting protein type and the average nutrition score. All right. But it's coming from the subquery. All right. So we call this T. So this inner query right here is what gets run first. All right, so now we have essentially this new data set. And now what we're saying is, okay, from that data set, we want to get two fields. We want to get the protein type, that new calculated field, right? That's either going to be grilled spicy chicken, grilled chicken, tofu, shrimp, avocado, etc. And then we want the average protein score. All right, so we're taking the average of that nutrition score that we saw before. And here's what's super important. We're grouping by the protein type. So anytime we're aggregating, all right, if you're including a non-numerical field, you have to group by that. All right, so here's our final query. Okay, so we're getting the protein type and we're getting the average nutrition score. All right, and we're grouping this by the protein type. And now we are also putting this in order. So basically we're saying, okay, order by the average nutrition score descending. So essentially I want you to order this by the protein type with the highest nutrition score. All right, so let's run our final query. Okay, and here we go. Here are the final results. So now we can report to the team that the average nutritional score for our protein shrimp is 2.35. Our average nutrition score for grilled chicken or grilled spicy chicken is 2.28. Our average nutrition score for menu items that have the protein type of grilled chicken is 2.27. For tofu, it's 1.94, and for avocado, it's 1.78. All right, so this is what we expect now, right? We had the average nutrition score by protein type. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this exercise. In video 2, we're going to do something very similar, except for this time, we're going to take the count of the menu items. All right, so let's say the team wants to know how many menu items do we have for each one of the protein types, right? We have what the average nutrition score is, but for all those different menu items, how many of them have a shrimp or a shrimp protein? How many of them have grilled chicken, spicy chicken protein, etc. All right, so that's what we're going to cover in video number 2. I'll see you guys in the next video.